So I too am a Christian, and I would not do this if I'm stealing. Thou shalt not steal.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I have three simple words I live by: mine or thine. So what's mine is mine, and everything else is not mine. So I am not stealing from the bank at all.
Exactly.
The bank attempted to deceive me in
Hmm.
tricking me into paying. On average, a person pays $20.04 in America on their bank issued alleged free checking account. So they lied to us, and they got us to deposit money in our own account. So we have been using our own money every month. So I have to make sure it's really clear that we are not doing something deceptive or illegal or immoral. And that's very important.
Exactly.
Welcome to the Bricks and Banks podcast, where real estate meets real wealth. Whether you're building from the ground up or stacking your paper to the ceiling, Steph breaks down property power plays and money moves you can act on. From first-time buyers to seasoned investors, this podcast is your blueprint for financial freedom through property, investment, and business. Subscribe now. It's time to build your future. This is Bricks and Banks with Steph.
Hey everyone, welcome to first podcast of Bricks and Banks with Steph. I have an amazing guest on the show today, Tommy Kilpatrick. He's an entrepreneur extraordinaire, an author, and I will put it to be that you're a life coach because you've just been involved in people's lives. So everyone say hi to Tommy. Hey Tommy.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah. So could you introduce yourself? Just tell us a bit about your background and we can
Sure.
flow from there.
It's very simple. Is that I had written a book on healing, and it was so well received. I received an offer to be on an infomercial. And so that was back in 2004. And so I was going to be interviewed by radio stations all across the country for about 6 months, just a test market, and to finally dial in how we were going to approach the marketing. And so I had to live with my credit cards. I had three credit cards. And then one of the other authors, he had written a book about weight loss, and he made unsubstantiated claims, and the FTC came down hard on him and the infomercial company, and our contracts were canceled. So
Wow.
once it was canceled, I was looking at $85,000 of credit card debt. So
That's
it was a pretty
crazy.
big setback. And then what happened
Sorry.
is it was about a month of despair. And then one morning I woke up thinking about my dad and being a CPA. In London, they called them an ACA. But I had been in college to be a certified public accountant. And it dawned on me that the banks never issued credit. And so there never could have been a credit card. And then I remember back reading the Federal Reserve Manual, Modern Money Mechanics, and I'll send that link to you so you can put it in the show notes. So you can read it yourself,
Yeah,
and it says right there, banks
definitely.
have to have a promissory note to issue a loan, and I never signed a promissory note. So I'm going, well, there was no loan. And so they say, oh, if you use a card, you have to agree to their terms and conditions. But I know that fraud undoes all contracts. So I ended up suing all three banks separately in federal court in Los Angeles. And you could say, did you win? Is that when a jury says I won
I
and
mean,
the
we're
judge
here
signs
in
ahead?
it.
No, I didn't win, but the judge threw the case out. However, when I looked at my credit report, all three
Yeah.
credit cards were gone off my credit report. So I
Wow.
call that a win. And I did not get a 10C. In America, when you get a loan and you don't pay it back, that's considered income and also a deduction for the bank. But I never got a 10C, and because they knew, I knew, because in my complaint, I laid out the whole scenario of what the crimes they were committing. So they didn't want to go any further, so they just deleted it off my credit report. So that's a quick, easy story.
I mean, you say it's quick and easy, but it isn't. It has to take you going back to the fine print to get yourself out of that debt. So it's really amazing. And you don't even have a law background, do you?
Well, I was married for 28 years, and my father-in-law was
Nice.
a attorney and a judge.
Okay.
And
Okay, that makes
then
sense.
I also, after this, got more into the legal things. I had a charity, and we helped about 1,000
Hmm.
people eliminate their credit card debt by just sending a letter. It was that simple to the bank. But I've been involved with court things a lot.
I'll call you a legal superhero because a legal superman because you're basically helping people clear off their credit card debts. So let's see. So in terms of property and business financing, what's the key difference between real debts and alleged credits, like something you had?
Mhm.
How can real estate
Yeah,
buyers or business owners use this knowledge to their advantage?
sure. Well, that's a very good question because
Yes.
and I want to say right away is I'm a doubting Thomas, so I want you
Hmm.
and your audience to doubt what I'm saying. I don't mind. Be skeptical, even be hostile. I don't mind that at all. But I also want you to send this podcast to your
Hmm.
accountant, to your person who's learned in the accounting field, and they will tell you that I'm absolutely 100% correct. So
Yeah.
how do you differentiate the debt? And when you say debt, then you owe it. And when you go to court, you have no defense.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to use the word allege because we see the
Alleged
bank
credits.
robber on the TV and we have to say alleged bank robber. So here is alleged. That makes the bank prove that there's a debt. So
Yes.
there's two kinds of debt. There's alleged debt that you can argue, and there's other debt that you can't. So what's the difference? If you go into, let's say, a tire store and you need tires for your car
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
you don't have enough money for the tires and the service to put them on, the store could say, "Oh, if you apply for our in-store credit, you could get the tires on for free today and pay later." You go, well, oh, I've got a bonus check coming and, a few weeks, that'll work out fine. So that is a true legitimate debt because the store, the merchant, the business had their merchandise. They gave it to you. They did a
Yes.
service to your vehicle in this case, and
Mm-hmm.
you got an invoice and it says you owe this money. At the end of the month, you got a statement and it shows the outstanding unpaid invoice. And so you don't have an argument. It's only alleged. They just produced the invoice and it's a true debt. Now, look on the back of that credit card, and if it says, well, here in America, it'd be Bank of America or Citibank or
Citibank.
Wells Fargo, and any bank that's in
JP
your
Morgan.
country, because
Yeah.
these are all the same thing. Lloyd's of London, if that's a bank. So even if it says Amazon or Walmart or even a store, don't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Look on the back of that card. If it's a bank, then it's a phony, it's a fake credit card. So that's the one you can argue with. And so I think, did I answer
Yeah.
your question completely there?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because these are fine points that people don't miss out. And even me being a chartered accountant myself, if you don't point this out, because coming from Nigeria, there isn't a defined credit card system. So it's all new to me coming into London, getting into the credit card vibe. It's very new to me. So if I'm not able to identify the fine print or see where I can bypass, then I'll just get stuck with unnecessary debts. So bringing it to property and investments or business financing, how would you advise like real estate buyers to use this knowledge to their advantage?
Yes, this is very, very important to your audience, is that this is all about real estate. And the primary thing about real estate is your credit score, which is going to
Exactly.
determine your interest rate that you're going to be paying. But it also is a debt to income ratio. So if you have $100,000 of bank issued alleged credit card, that's really going to affect your ability to invest or to get loans for your real estate. So
Hmm.
let me just say right away, what I'm proposing is nothing about the mortgage or the car loans because banks are only involved in loans. So when you take your currency and you go into a bank and you put it into a savings account or a checking account, that's actually a loan. You are loaning your money to the bank. That's the way it's seen. And they're going to pay you
Yeah.
interest on it. Then, if you sign a promissory note, they will loan the money to you, but it's not the depositors. That deposit money is actually considered a liability. So they cannot loan out their clients' deposits. So what they do is they have you sign a promissory note and they write in numbers in your checking account, and all of a sudden you've got the funds. So when you go into a bank, that's the thing about the loan. So if you apply for a credit card or you apply for a loan and they deny you, you don't get it. But if you apply for a car loan or a mortgage, then you have
Mortgage.
to fill out loan documents. You have to
Yeah.
prove that you can pay it back by showing income. You also have to have collateral, something that you're willing to put up and lose in case you don't pay off
Yes.
the loan, like a house.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
also have to have a credit report. And as we said, the credit score determines your interest rate.
Yeah.
But the
Credit
last thing
interest.
you have to sign is a promissory note. You've got to sign a promise on a piece of paper that you're going to pay this back. So once you have that signed promissory note, you owe the money. So this does not work for mortgages. It doesn't work for a car loan. But what I'm suggesting is the bank never did any goods or services to you, did not provide any goods or services to you, and they did not loan you any money. So you do not have a debt. So your listeners that have this problem of the debt to income ratio and the credit score could be instantly, within about 45 days, have that debt off the credit report. And so if there's no more credit card debt, well, then your debt to income ratio changes to the positive, and also your score is going to increase. So that's what you can do for the real estate.
Okay, that's fantastic because a lot of our listeners would be first-time buyers and like first time going into business, just trying their hands into business for the first time. So they can actually leverage credits to their advantage. So it's really helpful all that you've explained, and I know you have a couple of that in your book. Can you tell us a bit about your
Okay,
book before we?
sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, what happens is when you go into a bank, you put money in, you get a checking account or a savings account. And so
Savings
banks
account.
advertise to get you as a customer. Years ago, they used to
Mhm.
give you a toaster. Maybe they didn't do that in Nigeria, but here in America they
No, they
did, or a
didn't.
wall clock. No, they didn't do that.
Okay.
Okay, well, here they did. And they actually will advertise to come into the bank and make a deposit, let's say
Mm,
$25. And they say if you keep it there for 90 days, they will match it. And so after 90 days, they matched my deposit. I went in the next day and I withdrew $50 out and closed the account. Now, did I cheat the bank? No.
no,
Did I rip
you
them
didn't.
off? No. Do I owe them anything? No, that was a deal. They said if you come in, I followed their procedure, I followed what they wanted, and it's the exact same thing with the bank issued alleged credit card because they're giving you, let's say, a $500 credit card that you think is a credit card, but actually it's a gift card. So you use the card for any use you want. And then let's say you're going to buy a toilet, a golden throne. So you're trying to walk out of the store with this, and they're going to stop you and have you prove that you have a receipt. And you definitely have a receipt. So you're never going to get a bill. You're never going to get an invoice for this toilet because it was paid for. Now, once you got home, in the mail came a statement, just like you get from your checking account. It just shows your deposits, shows what you paid, shows interest, and that's it. It's not a bill. But when you got a credit card bill, you thought it was a bill, you thought it was a debt, so you wrote a check out. That's the
Yeah,
first time the bank ever collected your currency. So remember, when you take money to the bank, that's a loan. So they put that into that account associated with that card. So you
yeah,
actually have funded your credit card, your checking account has now been funded with your own money. Every purchase thereafter has been with your own money. And if you don't pay, they charge you interest. If you don't pay, they charge you overdraft fees and late fees, all that kind of stuff. But it's on your own free checking account. So this is what you can do is just send a letter to the bank requesting to close your free checking account associated with that credit card. And well, if the information you use off my book is going to be much more powerful of a letter because it's going to explain exactly what they're doing and they know that they have done illegal things and it won't work and they will not have a defense in court. So that's where you have a much more powerful way of eliminating this alleged credit card debt.
Thank you so much. I'll definitely leave a link to the book on the channel so the viewers can get it. So I know you're in the Philippines right now, and in terms of the Philippines and other developing markets, there is a lack of centralized listing systems, like platforms where you connect that can easily connect legitimate buyers to legitimate sellers of real estate. So do you think the banking model abroad reflects similar flaws to what you uncovered in the US in terms of formal
Yes, well,
financing of this
right.
platform? Yeah.
Here in the Philippines, and it might be in your country too, or other people who are listening to this, in America, it was very simple. They had a multiple listing book. And back in the olden days, there was a book, and you looked it up. And if you wanted raw land, or if you wanted a house or a condo, it would be in sections. And when I arrived here in the Philippines, they don't have such a thing.
Yeah.
And so you walk around and you go, where's a rental? And they go, I don't know. Or they might even have their own. Oh, I have a rental. You want to go see it? Well, yeah. How about someone else? I don't know. Everybody here doesn't know anything. So it's very frustrating. So that's what I'm going to be doing is going around, learning my Visaya, which is the language here, and asking and
Yeah.
talking to the locals about what is available in a sense of a real estate. Because once I compile this book of what's available, the foreigners here are looking to buy or to invest or to rent. And then all they do is find me because language of English, it's going to be very easy for them to find me and talk to me. And then I will
Yeah.
show them all the different properties in the area. I would have done all the legwork. So this might be apropos for you and your listeners for their country of going, okay, all you do is do your own multiple listing book. And then now you're the one that has information. So the most important thing that you can offer people is information. I have the
Yeah.
information about how to eliminate the bank issued alleged credit card. You could be that person that knows the real estate. So you got to know your territory and know every
Yeah.
single plot, have it on a map, know which one's vacant, which one is available for a high price and a low price. You want to find people who are desperate because when they're
Yeah.
desperate, now you've got a motivated seller. If they say price, you come back with terms. If they say terms, you come back with price.
Price.
So what I mean by that, if they say they want this amount of money, fine, I'm going to pay you a little bit now and a little bit more later and a little bit more later, and you could step it up. That gives you time to maybe turn that
To
into a
build up.
rental or turn it into a business where you make more money, but you don't have a lot of cash right now. It could be no cash down. It could be a
Yeah.
lease to own. It could be take over the payments. They might be in a situation that you just step in and there's maybe no equity or a little bit of equity and pay them a little bit just to move out. And you're in and now you just make the payment. So there's a lot of different strategies that you can do, but having that good credit is important, but then also having information.
Yeah. So does the credit score thing matter so much in the Philippines like it does for the US and UK market?
The credit card really doesn't exist here. Everything's
Yeah.
on
Okay.
cash
Thought,
or
thought
they
as
call it
much.
G cash, but it's not an easy thing. And the funny thing is, they will buy a motorcycle and they'll make payments for the first 3 or 4
Like
months,
lease
and then
payments.
they
Yeah.
just don't get around to making the payment. And then they come and do the
Yeah.
repossession, and then they just go get another one because there's no centralized
It's
trafficking.
not that defined. And
Yeah,
because
well,
you want to
they don't have that place.
yeah, and because you want to undertake this project, are you going to, do you already have like a team set up in helping you compile this information, or are you just doing it on your own? And how do you plan to deliver it? Would you want to use like a website, or you just put everything in your book and sell to people who are interested? Because I have a lot of motivated sellers, motivated buyers in the UK, because a lot of people are looking to invest outside of the UK because the UK market is pretty expensive at the moment. So investing in the Filipino
Yes.
market in terms of tourism would really be a big one right now.
And where I am is in Cebu
Mm-hmm.
City, which is the second largest city. I landed in Manila first, and it's just
Okay.
a huge major city, just like London. So Cebu is
Yeah.
a little bit smaller, but I live more in the suburbs. And this is where I'm going to develop a book because if I have a website, then I don't know who's really visiting it. I want to kind of keep control of my information. So it'll be just like
Okay,
in
that
a
makes
binder,
sense.
but then I have information at the local hotels where the foreigners are going to come and stay. And that's where their first question is how can I get a scooter? So that's the thing. Here in the Philippines, they only think about today. They don't think about tomorrow. And I already have 3 or 4 people who will loan me or let me use their scooter if I rent it. And so I will rent it for dollars and pay them in pesos. So foreigners will pay in the currency at a higher rate than they would to a Filipino, the local, because you want to get paid in dollars and spend in pesos. So the investment opportunity here is phenomenal. That's why I'm staying here is
Dude,
I am looking at 8 buildings that are at least 30 stories tall. And there's going to be 10,000 people living in these buildings that are a 10-minute walk from me. Across from my hotel is this huge vacant area, and that's going to be housing. I walk down 2 houses down, and there's a 3-story building being built. They are building everything here. It's just amazing. Once those people move in, all the land value goes up. But none of the Filipinos see that. They only see today. They don't see it tomorrow. So there's a great way of doing a fractional ownership where you don't have to
yeah,
buy the entire condo. You could use the kind of like a
a
timeshare in a
shared
sense, but it's
ownership.
just you could do an equity share. There's lots of things that you can do if you have a motivated seller, and these people are motivated to sell. They do need it because
Yeah,
they might
they
get
need the
sick,
cash.
and now they got to sell some of their land or their house. They
Mm-hmm.
have several properties and stuff. I don't mean their single house, but they will sell some of their family land to make the money to pay the hospital bill. So there's a lot of motivated people here, and there's great opportunity for investment here. So that's what I
Yeah,
would suggest is anybody out there, like in London, get your information together no one else has, and then you link yourself up to the investors, and that's the way you can meet the buyer and the sellers together.
amazing. Because a lot of people are looking to invest in these areas, and I call Philippines the home of virtual assistants because even working in PwC, a lot of our shared facilities people are all based in the Philippines. They're based in India, and these people are doing the work, and they get paid for it. They get paid in pounds. So there's that opportunity to come there and invest, and
It's hot here. Hmm.
personal loans. Investors use credit cards or personal loans to fund down payments for renovations, like when they want to do like a BRR, buy, refurbished,
Hmm.
and rents projects. So what should they know before swiping that card for a business expense, given what you've
Sure.
said and your experience in the credit card area?
If you apply for the credit card, the bank issued alleged credit card, but still we'll just call it a credit card. If you
Alleged.
apply for that, it's going to lower your credit score temporarily because it's a application of credit, so that hurts you. But by using 10% uh, of the
Credit
available
limits?
credit,
Yeah.
that's again, I mean, you start talking, you get me down that rabbit hole, and it sounds like there's a loan, but there's really not. But you use this to raise your credit score. So what I'm saying is you can use this avenue of getting a bank issued credit card to raise your score. Now, when you max it out, it's going to lower your score. So, well, wait a
Mm.
second. You're trying to use this. Remember, this is gift money. So the bank is trying to give you a gift to get you to
Get
open a new
interest.
account. So if you can get, I met one guy that had $750,000 of alleged credit card
Wow.
debt.
What?
How do you do that? Oh, he got 30 cards at 25,000
What?
each. So there's a three quarters of $1 million. Now, he
That's
didn't want to
crazy.
go my route and just
Yeah.
write a letter to the bank and do this because he was the one that would need to have an attorney and a CPA to be the expert witness
Mm.
and to put some pressure on the banks. But that's easily done. But he didn't want to do that. He just did a bankruptcy. So that was his choice. But what you could do is apply. apply for 30 cards now, all at once, because by the time it hits the credit reporting agency and to lower your score, you've already got the 30 cards applied for. And then here's the funny thing is that I took the banks to court. Remember that? And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
won.
you did.
Sort of, I
Yeah.
won.
So
But about 15 years after that, I had been on living on a farm. So I was really off grid. I had no credit score. I had no need for credit. And so on a lark, just last year, I signed up for a Capital One credit card. The one that I sued for $35,000 of alleged debt, they gave me a
they gave it
$500
to
credit card
you.
with no score.
Yeah,
I had no score,
it's
I had no credit
amazing.
history, nothing. But I was a previous customer. So even they don't even realize that I had sued them. So a lot of times they don't know what's going on. But I
Yeah,
will
the
put
thing
a
is,
link. Yeah, I'll put a link into the show notes. There's a guy
okay.
on YouTube that talks about the banks will give you free money, and he brags about getting $361 by doing what I suggested. There's deals out there. They say if you put money in the account, they'll match it, and he just says at the end of that deal, take the money out. Well, it's the same thing that I'm saying. So if you want $750,000 of gift money, that is a
You
gift. It's your money.
you can
You
actually,
can do it if you want to. So there's a way of funding your real estate
it
investments.
is. That's amazing. I'm going to hold up on that because I really want to have that free money. And the thing is, it's actually available out there. It's just that you just need to use your information and the knowledge to hack into it. So now that you're looking to connect buyers and sellers in a place, and in a place like Philippines where I'm not sure there's that's built up transparency or integrity among the locals. I mean, you just said people would lease a bike, use it for a bit, and skip the payments and lease another one. So, how does your experience with contracts and accountability teach you about building trustworthy systems in such messy markets?
That one is not fun here. I mean, as I suggested, oh my gosh, there are horror stories about.
Yeah, can
But
imagine.
first of all, you have to make sure that the land is titled. So a lot of times they're living on someone else's
Yeah,
land and no
someone
one has
else's land.
bothered to go to and then take care of the permitting. And here, maybe like other countries, it's just very, very slow. And it could take you
Mm,
a year. I had been watching a blogger here from America, and he has spent like 18 months just trying to get the legal document. It's not difficult, but he paid an attorney
wow.
who didn't do anything. So then he came across a guy that was better and helped him out. So what the guy did in a month, the other guy took 14 months to do. He'll very soon have, and there's not a problem with the title. This one was just a simple thing, but it's taken almost like a year and a half for him to transfer just a title.
Mm,
So, and of course, here we can't, as foreigners, own land, but we can own a condo. So there's that too. So that's the problem is the integrity of contracts because if you break the contract, what's going to happen? Well, it's going to take you years to run through the courts. And the courts, I
yeah,
don't know if they're going to really looking at you as a foreigner versus the local. So it's be with family or just do it yourself. That's basically the best advice I have is just do the contracting yourself. There's so many horror stories of these
yeah,
contractors that take your money and run and the due diligence, and they all thought they did, but all they did was just hear from other people. They didn't go down to basically the city hall and verify if these permits
to
are being
verify.
pulled by this contractor. So again, trust but verify. And that's the best thing I can say is if you get into these contracts, have it very clearly written out and have the local attorney, who's a real estate attorney, go over with you and both of you sitting down and make sure it's very clearly stated what they'll do. And there you go. What else can you do?
Yeah, I mean, everything you explained just took me back to Nigeria. The way the land business is run there, it's messy because you would have this set of people say, oh, they're the owners of the land. Another set of people, everyone's just coming with different things, and you have to pass through multiple agents, multiple people just to get across to the actual owners. And you might be shocked that you're not even buying from the actual owners and you'd have exchanged money So it's very crazy. That's one of the reasons my friend was like, "Oh, she's not interested in investing in Nigeria at this point because it's not like it's not a viable market. It's a viable market. It's the biggest market in Africa. It's just that the whole lack of structures and transparency can be off-putting. So I think I can totally relate with what you're dealing with in the Philippines. But I think I'm sure to get better because people are trying to, I feel like people are trying to do things better now. People are trying to get legit to an extent. I can't say for everyone in the room, but I know people are trying to do things better. So I'm positive that it will get better. So for most investors that think contracts, back to the contract thing, because you might have a contract and you end up finding out that the person who gave you the contract didn't even own it in the first place. So for most investors that think contracts and receipts equal security, you flipped that idea on its head. How can understanding what is not on paper be more powerful when dealing with debt or property?
See, I'm trying to understand that again about the paper.
Yeah.
So when you have a paper contract,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's only good as the person's going to come through. So it's
Sure.
that integrity. If their word is their word, and again, trust but verify is the best words I can say for you. But knowing that you enter into these agreements and just slow down, just don't go so fast, and ask a lot of questions. And it's good to go to an attorney and have the attorney ask you questions because they have the experience of all these uh, unfortunate things that weren't said that could ask,
Yeah.
well, what happens if you die? If you
Mm-hmm.
die, you don't get it because you're not you're not a citizen. Oh, well, then you got to have somebody, a corporation that could actually own it. So there's lots of ways of working it out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Um, so going back to your story, I mean, you shared how you went against the major banks, like you sued them all. What was your driving mindset and that pushed you to even contemplating that you would have victory in the first place? And how would you recommend for anyone who feels powerless in business and finance or foreign investments to take on a similar mindset to achieve what you've achieved?
Well, I was watching YouTube, and there was a very, let's say, persuasive man who said that he went to federal court in Texas,
Mm,
and he found the judge to be very supportive, very understanding, and very helpful. And so he was going on and on how you want to go to federal court and not state court. So from that, I said, I can do this. So I did my study. There's law libraries, and the law
yeah,
librarians are very helpful. And you read and study and you prepare your documents and there's plenty of information out there that how you can mimic what they did. So I laid out my whole story and filed the lawsuit. Then what happened is when you file it, it's very simple with the banks because they have a registered agent that accepts all of the lawsuits. So they don't hide.
yeah,
That's part of the problem of finding somebody to sue them. You got to hand them the lawsuit. But the banks, they have one place you go to, and you drop it off, and they stamp it, and they say thank you, and you walk out. So there's not a problem. So, but then what happens is I engaged in the attorneys running up their bill.
mm,
So within about 2 weeks, they're going to answer the
yeah.
complaint by denial, and then the attorney will call
That's
you
to
to work
provide.
out all the details. And so I was talking about sports, and I was talking about where they grew up and where they went to law school, and their firm. I'm trying to think of anything and everything to keep the conversation going because
Yeah,
they're at $400 an hour. And I'm pro se. I'm on I don't have any charge. So
sure.
after about 3 or 4 phone calls lasting about an hour or two, it could be $4,000 to $5,000. They're into it, and then once they see my discovery and the deposition date set and the injunction that I was going to file, they just said it was just going to be too difficult. But when I went, then the judge called me into the court and he said, okay, we're talking about this credit card. You got a credit card, right? And I'm going, well, no, you didn't get a credit card? Pull your credit card out. So I pull my credit card out and show the judge. What's it say right there? Credit card. You're telling me it's not a credit card? And I went, well, you got to start from the beginning. Oh, I'll let you start at the beginning. And then, did you use a card? Well, no answer that. Yes or no? I was sunk. He was driving to the point where he was on the bank side and wanted me to
Mm.
get out of there. And so that's what he said, dismissed and get out of here. So, but the bank knew that I could appeal. I could keep this thing
Yeah.
going. I could file again. And they just said,
Right.
he knows too much. It's just better to do a click. That's all it takes was
And
3
then it was
clicks,
over.
click, 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 and it's off my credit report. And they were done with me. So that's what part of it also is being a nuisance, but it's just too expensive to deal with it. So for most of the people that have a little bit, sending a letter, as I've experienced over the years, is good enough. But if you got the 50, 100,000 and you're in a business, but you most likely have a CFO, your chief financial officer is a CPA, and there's your expert witness who will tell the court and tell you and the bank that what I'm saying is actually true. There is no credit card and there was no loan. And your attorney then is vice president, and that's your vice president, and that's he's working for you. So then you tell them to do it, and they do it. It's their job. Now, the problem you have if you hire an attorney or a barrister, they've got other clients. They're going to lie to you. They lied to me over and over again. And we'd go to court. We'd have my expert witness, and they go, "Oh, I can't go in front of this judge. I got other clients. He's going to look at me like I'm an idiot or I'm defrauding my client. I can't, even if I have an expert witness, we can't do this." And so, man, I get shafted by the attorneys. So that's why if you have a lot of this alleged debt, it's better to go with my plan of my legal documents I have to share with you and bring in your attorney and your CPA. So that's what
Yeah.
you can do.
Yeah, I mean, I love how you said it because I'm a Christian, and one of the main things in the Bible that says, study to show yourself approved. So everything we need to know is in these books. We have access to libraries, we have access to resources. We just need to go in there and dig in there, find the loopholes, and make our lives better. And that was what you did, and you were very persistent. And that's one thing. Consistency is the name of the game, especially in business. You don't show up one day and like, oh, they said no, and you give up like, oh no, they said no to me. You kept on going,
And
and the
well, you
banks were like,
mentioned
no.
loophole. Yeah. Well, you mentioned loophole and Christian. So I too am a Christian, and I would not do this if I'm stealing. Thou shalt not steal.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I have three simple words I live by: mine or thine. So what's mine is mine, and
Mm.
everything else is not mine. So I am
Mine.
not stealing from the bank at all.
Exactly.
The bank attempted to deceive me in
Mm.
tricking me into paying, on average, a person pays $20.04 in America on
Yeah.
their bank issued alleged free checking account. So they lied to us and they got us to deposit money in our own account. So we have been using our own money every month. So I have to make sure it's really clear that we are
Yeah.
not doing something deceptive or illegal or immoral. And that's very important.
Definitely.
The other thing you said is about a loophole. And I looked up
Mm-hmm.
the loophole, and actually that was like a slit that would be in let's say, in a castle. And that's where you could shoot your arrows through. And that's called a loophole, is where it kind of came from. So this is not a loophole. They cannot close this and then be done with us. No, they can't pass a law and say, "Oh, we had a little loophole here. We had made a mistake," because
Yeah.
they never provided goods or services to give us credit. They never said, "Oh, pay us back later, and here's an invoice." They don't have an invoice. And on the other side, they don't have a promissory note because there never was a loan. So they can never close this loophole. And it's not really a loophole. It's just knowing, like you said, it's knowing the
Knowing
fine
where to
print
go.
and learning and knowing what they're doing. And anybody with accounting background will agree with me. That's the
Sure.
funniest thing. I had a podcast before, and he was from Nigeria, and he was living in London, and he was an ACA, what we call a certified public accountant, and he was
Yeah.
right on with me. He knew what I was saying was the truth. So again, I want you to share this podcast with anybody that knows accounting, and they'll tell you I am actually 100% correct in my argument.
Yeah, I know accounting. I'm also a chartered accountant, so I totally relate to everything you've said. Most of my people, most of my friends and fans are in the accounting space, so I think we all resonate well with you on this one. So, you know how the banks can repossess your property in terms of a mortgage, if you default on your mortgage payments, how would you also advise such like first-time buyers or first-time landlords on basically leveraging the knowledge you've shared? Or do you have any resource that you can use, specific resource that they can use to fight back when they're involved in such situations to avoid losing their property altogether? I know that yes, part of the firing period is like if you default on payments, your property could get repossessed by the bank. But are there any loopholes?
No, that's not a loophole. That's when
There's
you
no
sign a
loopholes there.
promissory note, they
Yeah.
got you. So on the one side, I was thinking that if you are in a situation that you want to get out of, either bail out or buy yourself out of the situation, step back and take that as a learning experience and know as much as you can before you go into these situations. Learn from other people, do little baby steps. Have in my travels and around the world while doing things, I've asked people, what was your biggest mistake? And they always say, I went too big. So with your small amount of funds, just bring the family together, put all your money together and buy one small house that then you would then rent out and have the renter pay your mortgage. And that's perfect. And so
Exactly.
they're actually making a payment at the end of that time period. You own the house. So there you go. That's the fastest way to wealth is through real estate.
Yeah,
And
that's
for the
one thing my mentor
Filipina,
told me.
yeah,
Oh, okay,
go
sorry.
ahead.
No, that's one thing my mentor told me. Like, you don't ever have an I've arrived mentality. Start small and build up. Most people, because they're earning a big paycheck and they see their friends, they just want to be better than their friends. Like, oh, my friend got a 3 bedroom. I'm going to get a 4 bedroom. I'm going to get a 5 bedroom, and you just allow yourself to be stuck in that unnecessary debt. And the thing is, they're not even looking for alternate ways of renting out, like you said. They're not looking at that. They're not considering those options. So that's one of the things that prompted me to start this podcast, because I have a bit of knowledge around property, and I know there are many more people like yourself who have been in this business for the past 10, 20 years, and you have this wealth of knowledge. So that's why I'm like, okay, let me bring people that share the same idea with me that I can learn from and also share similar knowledge to my audience and help everyone build property. Because property is like the best and fastest way to get rich. It's just that you just take it one step at a time. And in today's world, I think there are easier ways and avenues to get into property compared to before, where you need to have so much money on ground. Now we can do fractional ownership and shared equity, which makes a lot of sense.
And you can do this investing and in real
Yeah,
estate without any money. You don't have to have money. And again, you don't want to focus on the money. You're not going into
exactly.
this with the love of money, which is the root of all evil. The
Totally.
love of money is the root of all evil. Love in Hebrew means I give. So why don't you think of a different perspective? Why don't you go into these situations and says, you have a problem, you have pain, I'm here to share my knowledge and my love to you. What can I give you? How can I make your life better? And focus on them. If you focus on their life and how you can bring value, value means you change someone's life for the better. So what value can you bring to this person who is under dire straits? Because that's, again, you need to talk to motivated sellers. You're not going to get anywhere with somebody who has all the money and puts a high price on it and lets you jump to it.
Yeah.
No, you just walk. They don't have a problem. They don't have any pain. You want to find the people who are in pain for some reason, divorced, or they lost their job, and they're in pain. So go to them and say, well, how can I make your life better? And I think back of one story, this investor, and he went to
Okay.
a house and he was going to make her an offer, but she already had an offer for the house that was higher than he was going to be able to pay for it. And so he's walking away and turned around and said, what problems do you have? And she said, well, come here and I'll show you. They went to the backyard and there were pens of these bunny rabbits. And she said, these were my mom's and she passed away. I'm selling the house, but I don't want to just throw the bunnies away. What do I do with the bunnies? And he goes, my mom raises bunny
That's
rabbits.
funny.
Gives her a phone call. The mom comes over. They're best friends. They take the bunnies. They solve her problem. And then a month later, he gets a
She
call
gets.
from that lady who says, I will sell you my house
The
at a
house.
lower price to you because you were the
Well,
only one who did something for me. So what can I do for you? I
yeah.
don't need the money. You need the money in a sense of a lower house price so you can make some profit on this. So I agree to sell it to you. That's what you want to do. And that's what I will be doing is walking. And I already have done that. I said to the lady across the way that is my chef, I said, what can I do to make your life better? And then she's talking about her scooter was out front, was dirty, and she needed it washed. Well, she went to church yesterday. I went over, dragged her over to the other side of the street and borrowed someone's hose, and I washed their motorcycle and put it back just the way it was and never said anything. Of course, the neighbors told her that I went over and washed her vehicle for her scooter. So you just do things like that, and that's how you build rapport, you build that integrity. They see what you're trying to do, and you're not there to rip them off. You're there to become wealthy, which biblically you're supposed to do. We are supposed to be as wealthy as King Solomon. So, and Abraham, and all these people became extremely wealthy, and that's what we're supposed to be. They're not supposed to be impoverished because you can't help people if you've got nothing.
Exactly.
You can help people if you got something. So share it. So that's the whole point.
Exactly. I love what you said because if you're not helping anyone, that is the function of business. A business is set up to help people. Because when you're giving out that value, you make profit in return. But that shouldn't be the setup for business that you want to make profit. Yes, you make profit, but it comes after you've given value. So just like you said, you don't necessarily need to have money, so much money to get into property. You can just look for people around you because opportunities are all around us. We just need to have an eye to see it. So thank you so much for that.
And be honest. Just tell them, I
Yeah,
have no money to invest right now, but I have my time. Let me spend my time and pay attention. What do we need to do? Let me spend the time to improve this property. It's a fixer-upper, and we'll sign a contract. We'll have the attorney, verify everything. But I'm going to spend my time. I could move in and spend my time painting, landscaping, getting it to look great. And in 2 or 3 months, let's get it sold for 100,000 more. And my gosh, so that could be an opportunity for you with no money and no place to
yeah,
live. Now you got a place to live and you're making, you'll be enriched.
definitely. I mean, it's been an amazing time talking with you. So, final word of notes to your audience. How would you advise someone who literally feels stuck in debt right now in a foreign system or stuck in debt in a business deal that they don't fully understand? What's your best advice for them to
Very
turn around their
simple is that
frustration?
bank issued alleged credit card debt is not a debt. And you can get
Hmm,
out of this in less than 45 days by sending a letter to the bank asking to close your free checking account that's associated with that alleged credit card.
amazing. So we want to move on to a brief segment. It's called Firecracker segment. So it's just a bunch of firecracker questions for you that can
Okay.
just to see it's spontaneous. Don't think too much about it. So the first question: if every entrepreneur or investor had 60 seconds to challenge a false belief about money, what would you have them say out loud? I think you already said it before.
Ah, I see money as a store of energy. All right.
Mm,
You put energy out and you panned the sand and you found gold particles and now you have gold. You put out energy and by sweeping the streets out there, someone paid you $20. Well, you're ahead. That's how you have money. So I see money as stored up energy. And you don't have any money now. Well, you don't have any stored up energy. So go out and spend the energy and retain that energy back. Here's a good one. When I was in Maine and it was quite cold, a friend of mine said, come on over and help me out. And it was just a very simple, his door was broken. And so I had to unscrew some screws to get it through the window and got in. He was going to give me $20.
okay.
Come on, that's not worth $20. So give me something that's trash to you that would be a treasure to me. So about a week later, he
Mm,
called me over and I came over and he gave me a pair of gloves. These gloves were so nice and warm, but they had the fingers missing, but it had the mitt. So I can use it as
okay.
a mitt to keep all my hands warm. But then when I need my fingers, I just had to peel it over. I could
Fingers.
use my fingers. Then he said, well,
Yeah.
here's a bike. It's his daughter's bike. It's been sitting there for 15 years. It's brand new.
Wow.
She's not going to keep coming back. And he gave
Mm-hmm.
me like a $250 bicycle. So take someone's, just ask someone to give you their trash that would be considered a treasure to you.
Treasure
And that's
to
the best
you.
advice I can give you.
Thank you so much. The popular saying, one man's trash is another man's treasures. We just need
Mhm.
our treasures are out there in someone else's hand. We just need to find it and get it. Okay, so the second question, you've got a mic full of and a room full of real estate investors and one slide to show. What's the headline on that slide?
The
Yeah,
headline of that
yeah,
is going to be reduce the debt to income ratio and raise your credit score by eliminating bank issued alleged credit card debt.
that's very captivating. Reduce reduce the bank interest. How did you say it again?
A bank issued alleged credit
Issued
card.
alleged credit
Yeah,
card.
it's always bank issued because if it's a
Bank issued
store,
because
you owe the money, you pay it.
of money.
But if it's a bank issued, no, that was just a scam pulled on you.
So reduce the bank issued alleged credit. And everyone's
Mhm.
captivated. Thank you. So what's one legal or financial myth that you hope people would unlearn today before it costs them everything tomorrow? I know it's still talk about.
It's the belief that it's a debt. So when you say I
Hmm.
have credit card debt, I'm just sorry to say that you probably are lying to yourself. It's not true. It's not legal. Look at the
Yeah.
back of that card. If it says a bank, then it's a phony bank card. It is a debit card tied to your free checking account that you're putting money in every month. So you can stop this craziness and get off this merry-go-round of debt, debt, debt. And that you won't have anymore by just sending a letter asking to close your checking account. That's what you do.
Yeah. I mean, thank you so much, Tommy. I've learned a great deal from you, and I know the viewers would learn so much, even with your book. I know, do you want to talk about your book some more right now?
Sure.
Okay.
I will give you a landing page, and all you do is go there, and I have a free book for you. And I have a
Yeah.
free 15-minute consultation with
Station.
me. I have nothing to hide. I'm looking for a company. That's what I'm looking for. So you might be a CEO or you might know somebody that would be very beneficial to me. But for the meantime, be happy to give you a free 15-minute consultation. And if you do that, I will give you my $69 book, Forgive and Forget How to Nuke Your Credit Card Debt, absolutely free. Just by having a consultation with me, I will give you my book, and in that book, it explains exactly what goes on. It has a scenario of a courtroom, which happened to me. So when you read
Yeah.
this
Personal
about the
experience.
CPA being in the courtroom and
Mm.
testifying, that was actually happened to me. So this whole court story is accurate, and that's how you can defeat the bank. But you don't have to go to court, and that's not the whole plan with this. This is to send a letter to close the account. And since the letter is so clearly stated, you know what's going on, the bank knows what's going on, and there's going to be no argument. They're going to just click. That's all it's going to take, and your credit card debt is gone off your credit report.
Wow. Thank you so much, Tommy. Like, this has been a total eye-opening session for us, and you brought so much value, and you're still leaving our audience with so much value. I'm just super grateful to have you on the pod,
Mhm.
and I'll definitely keep in touch in your projects you're doing in Philippines for the buy and seller real estate book, because I know that my audience would see value in it and they would want to get it. Even when you put a price on it, we're gonna get it at that price and support the project. But I just want to say thank you so much. And how can we reach you? How can we contact you? Socials, website? How
Yeah,
can we get
Tommy
connected to you?
A. Kilpatrick would be on Facebook, and
Yeah,
just send
okay.
me a message and let me know who you
Mm,
are. I get lots of people, so let me know where you heard me from or what you want. I'd be happy to respond.
okay.
That'll be in the
All
show
right.
notes.
I'll drop all the links in the short notes for the viewers. Yeah, it's been a great time talking to you, Tommy. I had an amazing session. So we'll definitely keep in
Me
touch.
too.
We'll probably have like a second session for this pod, hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully.
So enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.